And this is going to be the biggest crash in world history. We're down to the last 4 minutes. And the question is, are you going to keep doing the same thing? We are just coming out of the longest bull run in history, 11 years. Started in 2011. And at 2011, I made the biggest fortunes of my life because that was the MBS, mortgage-backed securities, and the CDO crashes, the real estate crashed. And I backed up the truck and I borrowed $300 million to buy the best real estate all across the Southwest. I'm watching all these young guys, they entered the biggest bull market, the longest bull market in history. They're walking around in diapers in 2008, and now they're on YouTube with their channels and they're talking about this, they're talking about that. They've never seen a crash. And this is going to be the biggest crash in world history. And these guys are giving advice. Be careful who you're taking advice from. How old are they? Because this is the longest bull market in history. The Federal Reserve Bank, I can't believe that. I mean, people say, don't fight the Fed and all this. Well, my question to everybody is this: can the Fed print oil? Can the Fed print gasoline? Can it print food? But everybody sits there and they've been brainwashed by Wall Street to go, do as the Fed tells you to do. Well, you got to be kidding me. Those guys are the three stooges, Janet Yellen, Biden, and Powell. You got to be kidding me. Why would you listen to them? So Powell is now channeling the spirit of Volcker. And, when Volcker crushed inflation, debt to GDP was 30%. And today it's 125% if you believe the numbers. So if he channels Volcker, and the other thing about history will tell you this: there's never been a soft landing. It's more Fed talk. To think that Powell is going to save you when, as you may know, the reverse repo market is running at $2 trillion a day today.
Right.
$2 trillion a day. And people are listening to Powell? You got to be kidding me. I own no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I do not touch paper. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm saying people have been brainwashed by the Fed, the Treasury. Go to school, get a job, pay your taxes, get a high-paying job, and invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. It was in 1974 when I came back from Vietnam, a two-tour Marine helicopter pilot. I saw communism at work. It was not pretty. And I come back in 1974, they passed ERISA. ERISA stands for 401k right now, or IRA. And I went, oh my God, they're funneling my generation, the boomers, into the stock market. And they don't know anything about money. And in 1974, the biggest exodus was school teachers suddenly becoming financial planners. I watched it in horror. That's the poor leading the blind. And today we have baby boomers who are hoping the stock market stays up in their 401k just as Social Security goes bust. You think that's an accident? That's all I'm saying. I'm just a Marine. I'm a dumbass Marine lieutenant. But today I listen to this bullshit and I go, oh my God, how can we be that stupid? Because we went to school, we did as we're told. Don't fight the Fed, do as the Fed tells you. Invest for the long term on a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. And don't worry, Powell is now channeling Volcker. When the debt to GDP is at 120%, you got to be kidding me. They said in a bull market, even idiots feel smart. I think that's one of the best sayings I've ever heard, because I'm listening to all these idiots, after 2011, the market crashed in 2008 because the repo market went bad. And the repo market is the credit of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns was bad. But then when it came back out, they just started pumping money, just like you said about Christine Lagarde. And what they did was they kept printing more money to save a bad economy. It was already crashing again in 2011, but they kept printing money. And today we're going to pay that price. And we've heard all the bullshit. I call it CNBS, not CNBC.
Yeah.
I just cannot believe that garbage those guys pump out. But if they don't say what if they said what I said, their sponsors would leave them. There's more opportunity today than ever before, but not if you've been brainwashed into going to school, getting a job, paying taxes, live debt-free, and invest in the stock market. This bubble right now is a bigger bubble than 2008. This is the everything bubble. It's going to be not only stocks, bonds, but also credit. But it's more opportunities going to come out of it.
Well, and I think that's really worth digging into for a second, because you see a massive price correction coming ahead, right? Biggest crash of our lifetimes. But you were looking at that with some anticipation, some optimism of, hey, that's going to give me a chance to get some great values, right? You're not saying the world's ending, we're all going to die. You're saying, hey, for those folks that are paying attention here and prudently position themselves, this could be one of the gateways to one of the best futures around.
And that's what I'm saying. Be careful who you listen to, because your best asset, but also your biggest liability, are the ideas in your head. And be careful who puts them there. Like I said, in 1974, when every school teacher became a financial planner, I said, that's the poor leading the blind. It's like not every preacher is an Elmer. There's good preachers and bad preachers. But you got to know who's for real out there. But you got to be careful who you listen to. There's a million ways to get to financial heaven. Find the way that works for you. But there's also a billion ways to go to financial hell. And a lot of times people listen to the wrong person.
Yeah. Well, you can say we're in the current state we're in right now because of policy errors, but I think they're in the process of making another one, which is, tightening extremely into a fast-flowing economy. And I think that they are going to, just like they eventually created the inflation they were looking for, but just got way too much of it, I think they're going to get the same demand destruction they're looking for, just way too much of it again. The system can't take higher rates the way that it could back when Volcker was doing this. And so you're really putting the entire stability of the entire system at risk here. And the big question is it all bluster, right? And we could go back and forth on this today, Robert, but the short answer is we're not going to have too long to find out. And honestly, we're in an inflationary regime. I mean, Robert, when's the last time you had to invest for inflation? I mean, that was decades ago. Right. I mean, so many of investors over the past couple of decades had this wonderful sort of disinflationary period. You've been in real estate. Real estate's had a phenomenal tailwind at its back. So the point being is the people who are quote unquote presenting themselves as experts today, their entire musculature may be developed during an era that's not going to apply going forward. We may need a different playbook going forward for wealth building. And you, as you just said, are having a lot of success right now. And one of the things that I see you doing, and feel free to take this any direction you want, but you are not buying claims on assets the way that people do in the stock market or whatnot. You are buying the assets directly.
Correct. I own no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I do not touch paper. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but I'm saying people have been brainwashed by the Fed, the Treasury. It's a magic eyedropper. And I think we're down to the last few drops right now. But it's a good time to make changes in your life.